Hey there, I'm Lydia Walker, and in this video, I take you behind the scenes of the Rustic Songbird podcast, where I interview Grace Askew about her story, and we talk about how you can build your audience online with Patreon. Grace is an amazing singer and songwriter and recording artist, and she has just recently wrapped up a challenge where she wrote a song every day for 2 years, and she brought her audience along that whole journey, shared the songs online every day, and her audience got to see the whole process. So she has an amazing story to share with you today and some practical advice if you're looking to build your audience online. Patreon is one of those platforms where you can have your fans support your music, and we're going to talk about how that works in today's interview. And we're also going to talk about how her audience responded to her writing songs every day and what that experience was like. So I hope you enjoy this episode behind the scenes of the Rustic Songbird podcast. Before we get started, I wanted to invite you to take my brand new quiz called Are You Ready to Release Your Own Album? If you're a songwriter or musician and you're ready to finally put your music out online this year, then this quiz will help you figure out how prepared you are and give you personalized advice based on your results. Take this fun and easy quiz at rusticsongbird.com/quiz. That's rusticsongbird.com/quiz. My guest on the show today is Grace Askew. She's an incessant songwriter. Since January 1st, 2018, she has written a new song every day and performed it on her social media pages. She maintains this while also continuing to tour across the country alone in her Ford F-350 diesel truck, Wanda, and recording new material in whatever spaces she can find to set up her microphone. Motels, stairways, backseat of her truck, friends' guest bedrooms. Her mantra is, creativity is a muscle, dare to suck. It epitomizes her endeavors as she explores and pushes the limits of her muse. I am so excited to have you on this show today, Grace, and to talk about your story. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and especially just to have the sisterhood. A fellow female musicians, always awesome to talk to.
Well, I'm glad to have you on this show for several reasons. I actually found Grace on Instagram. I was searching different hashtags for musicians and songwriters and just trying to figure out, what are other people doing, what's working, how are people building their audiences online, especially as independent songwriters and musicians.
Yeah.
And I was really struck by the fact that you've been writing a song every day for over a year, almost 2 years, and you've been posting it online and building your audience that whole time. And we'll be talking about what the audience response is like and how you've built that. And so I'm excited to talk about that on the show today.
Yeah.
But first, let's give a little background of you as an artist. Before you were kind of doing this, tell us where you come from and where you got your start in music.
I'm sixth generation Memphian, so born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. Got a lot of the Delta roots in my family as well, like Mississippi roots. So I feel like that's heavily influenced my sound and my style. And I never really know what to call my music other than like alternative Americana. I really don't even like the word Americana, but we're going to go with that. So, but yeah, I've been doing music full time. I'm 32 now, about to be 33 in November. For over a decade, so 12 years, like full-time touring, cutting albums, and writing all of my own material and doing brand collaborations. I just love Instagram for that very reason, because I get to meet people like you and connect, and I've made lifelong friends through social media these past 2 years. So I feel very blessed to be a musician in this day and age. I know a lot of artists complain about it, but I think it's a better time to be a musician right now. So
yes, I agree with the internet. We can have fans all over the world, and there's literally no limit to what we can do to get our music out there. And you have such an amazing work ethic, and you're just working hard and actually doing it and putting it out there. One part of your bio that I didn't read was that you were on The Voice, and you got that experience. So so that probably showed you a whole new side of things with TV and everything. But
I feel blessed to have that like national spotlight attention that I don't think a lot of artists on the songwriter side get to experience very much, because I didn't have very much confidence on stage as a performer. And that was like the hugest takeaway, how to just be really confident on stage, which like I said, I don't think a lot of songwriters ever are taught that, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Stage presence is so important. And when you are the songwriter, sometimes you're not as much of a performer as the writer. And so if you have both of those components, you're just unstoppable.
Totally.
Yeah. So what would you say was like the catapulting like moment in your career? I know you've been doing this a long time, but when did it really start to build? Was it because of being part of the TV show, getting noticed, getting awards and things like that?
That was a massive blip in the radar, so to speak. Like, I think it helped me more so, like I said, build confidence in myself, and it showed me what I'm really made of, because that was the highest amount of pressure I'd ever been put under. And I think it was the final 32 contestants that season. So
wow.
I saw people dropping like flies that I thought were incredibly talented. So it was like, there's no way I'm staying longer than this. So, I got kicked, or, I lost the knockout round. So, but once that happened, that's what I was doing. I was touring, I was cutting albums as an independent artist. I've been offered record label deals. I've just never thought they were fair. They always screw you over. So I've completely, I've decided to always maintain a independent career, no matter what has kind of been thrown my way. Unless some record deal like comes my way that's incredible and I have control, but we don't really need them anymore. I really don't think we do. So I think to your question, I think my career was more so like catapulted, and I did it on my terms when I started this daily songwriting challenge. I really think that was the most empowering thing I could have ever done for myself.
Yeah. And I think the consistency of that shows that you're serious. And you're literally sharing it with your audience every single day. So you're building that trust, and they're like, you know what, she's doing it. She's showing up and she's doing what she says, and you're making amazing music. And so that's such a huge thing for your creativity, to keep it up every day, but also just the fact that you're building your audience that whole time and taking them with you. So let's talk about that. Yeah. I know you have a slogan on your website that says create every day. And that's what you're doing. You're recording, you're touring, you're being creative every day and doing something new. Right. So what happened to make you decide to write a song every day?
So I do have a big, like, pivotal, moment. It was December 31st, 2017. And I was like, at this really lame cocktail party on New Year's Eve with my husband. We were like, we were drinking, and I was just like, what am I going to do this year to really change the game? I was feeling stagnant as an artist. My career felt stagnant. I was kind of just uninspired and too comfortable, for sure. I hate that feeling of being too comfortable. So I knew, and then I've been watching a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk kind of interviews and content. I'm sure you follow his stuff.
Entrepreneurship really and working hard.
Yes. Yeah. I was so inspired about his advice to some random rap artist, I think, that he was interviewing on YouTube. Is like, if I were an artist, I'd be putting out content every day, because you never know who's going to hear that song and who's going to make it huge. Or it wasn't even about like it, going viral. It was just about me putting out content to connect and find my tribe. So that's ultimately like the bigger mission. And that's why I started it, because I was like, I need to shake things up and be audacious and do something that no one else was willing to do. So that's on January 1st, 2018. I went public and announced it, and I started my live streaming.
So December 31st, you decide to do this. Yes. January 1st, the next day, you just go for it. You go live and tell people, I'm going to write a song every day. And at the time of this recording, I think you're over 600. So
today I haven't written it yet, but today will be 655 of 730.
655. Amazing. And there'll be even more by the time this airs. So it's just so cool that you've stuck with it too. I mean, so many people don't meet their resolutions, it lasts a couple weeks and then it gets hard and people fizzle out. But you've kept it up. And so I think that's super cool and really inspiring for our listeners. I've heard several people on the show mention, write something every day, but it really is audacious to also share that with
Yeah.
people where you
Yeah.
have like instant feedback. If it's a good
Right.
song, bad idea, it doesn't really matter, but you get those comments right away.
And that was never what it became about, because the people who understood the soul of what I was doing, my true tribe members online, they never gave me, they were just supportive because they understood the mission. It wasn't about how great the song was. You know what I mean? It was just
just the
it was about the
consistency of it.
craft. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being able to just sit down, write a song, and share it. It's just so raw
Totally.
and so honest.
Yeah. 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 I think that was like the number one New Year's resolution, was to be as real and authentic as possible. And I decided to also become sober. I got sober that
Really?
same day.
Same
So the day
day.
I started the challenge, I was like, I'm done drinking. I'd always wanted to do that for myself in the first place, because I had struggled with it a little bit in my past. But so I haven't had a drink since January 1st in 2018 as well. I mean, I'm pregnant now, so I really have a reason to not drink.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a good timing to stop drinking and then have this vessel to like pour all of my energy into the songwriting every day at the same time.
Yeah. So tell me about your Patreon, because you do get support from people that are following you, and they can donate a certain amount per month to help support your music. And so it's actually your audience and your followers that are supporting you through this journey of writing a song every day. So when did you start the Patreon?
It's the whole entire daily songwriting challenge has been put on Patreon now. And I think maybe it was in the 500s, somewhere along there, that I decided to take all of my live streams. I stopped live streaming every song, and I put it all on Patreon now. And just for $3 a month, they can see every single daily performance, which I think is a deal. And then there's the $10 tier where you get just more exclusive live stream stuff. But I'm about to revamp. It's so funny that you asked me this, because just this morning I was thinking it's time to revamp the Patreon page. So
I love that you're just doing it anyway, though. You're like, let's start this and we'll just make it better as we go. That's a great way to do it. Well, for anybody listening, we might have listeners that don't know what Patreon is. And so we've kind of mentioned a few different ways to monetize your music and build your audience. Some people are very interested in that. So tell me a little bit about how Patreon works.
It's just a way for your fans to directly support you, to become the patron of you. And it's like your super fans. It's like the people who really don't care, it's not really about your content. It's just about being able to say, hey, I support you. I love what you're doing. Keep going.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a tip in a way, like how somebody would like throw some money in a hat for you. But it's like in the online version of that. People are saying, you know what, I'll give a couple dollars every month to support what you're doing and to back you. And
I used to do that, a virtual tip jar with every live stream. I'd have a PayPal link on my live streams.
That's a great idea, especially if somebody's maybe not ready to take the leap to set that up.
Yeah.
Easy enough to just go live on Facebook, on Instagram, and just post your link. I think that's great. Yeah, you can get a paypal.me link. And
that's what I did.
That is so awesome. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's really easy. Even if people aren't tech savvy and don't have a lot of presence online, anybody can go live.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So you started the Patreon, and you have a tier for $3 a month. They can have access to all of the songs that you're writing, the full songs. Yeah, the daily songs. What is the kind of feedback you're hearing from your audience?
I actually just messaged all of them this morning and saying, hey, what kind of offerings would y'all prefer to have? Because I'm about to end. I mean, the challenge is done by the end of this year. So once, January hits, I need to offer something new. So right now, it's just, hey, I love that song. That's great. It's nothing negative so far. I've got it's like I said, it's like your super fans. Like,
so they just love you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. Another thing that I noticed is that you would post on your Instagram and ask people to comment with a word that you would use to include in your song the next day.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool way to engage your audience and like include them in what you're doing. Even if they're not a songwriter, they can still pitch something in.
Totally. I get DMs all the time like, hey, I feel so cool. Like, I love that I could contribute to this song. And they'll share it on their stories. Like, I helped Grace write a song. And I think I started it super early on in this challenge, and so powerful in connecting with people, because they really get, like you said, they get involved. They feel like it's they're part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the plan for that? You post and anybody can comment a word for the next day's
Yeah.
song?
Yeah. And sometimes if I'm in a rush, but anyway, I'll post. I'm really a visual person. So
Yeah.
photography really inspires me, especially when I'm touring. I'll take a lot of travel photography. So I'll post something on my Instagram, a photograph of the road, whatever. And I'll say, comment with the first word evoked by this photograph. And so I'll get like 40 to whatever, how many comments, and I'll pick 10. And those 10 words I must use in the next day's song. And I usually write the song at this point in like 20 minutes using the 10 random words. So I think it's helped me get out of a creative rut throughout the challenge, because it gets my mind, the juices flowing in ways that I wouldn't have thought to use the word crimson in yesterday's word unless because someone commented it, I used it,
Yeah. So
it
it's
helps
fresh
with,
content for you and your creativity.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. And it's an easy entry point for someone that's just looking at it, and they might think of one word. They don't have to think of a whole line or how it rhymes or where it should go in the song. That's up to you. You're the one actually writing it, putting it together, but they're still a part of it.
Yeah, totally.
So it's a great way to involve your audience. So you said the challenge ends at the end of the year. So next year, you're kind of asking your audience what they would want, what's the next thing, the next challenge, or, what it looks like going forward. And you're having a baby next year. And so that's going to change things for the better. It's going to be amazing. But I think it's so neat how, as the seasons are changing, you're adapting to it and including them, bringing them along too. And I think that's really inspiring for other songwriters and artists to think about what the audience wants and not just what we think sounds cool, because they're the ones that are listening.
Yeah. And I love what you said about like following the seasons of your life. I mean, with sobriety, I didn't want to be out at bars hanging at 11 o'clock at night anymore. So I put all my energy into focusing on the craft and being more of a homebody, which is, it was amazing to finally give myself that gift. And then with the baby, coming, I think I can just be more active on my Patreon and really focus on that. Cause as you know, it's, just, you don't have to be in person. It's just all online, which is so amazing.
Yeah, you've built this audience and cultivated it online, and you're also touring in person too. So how have you seen that kind of cross promote and connect with the live in-person shows?
It definitely freshens up my creative juices, because Lord knows I can't stay in one place for long. So when I go on tour, it helps me write better songs. And the tribe online, they love seeing me here's a motel. I'm in a motel in Lubbock, Texas, writing song 543. So that helps with like engaging in more interesting ways with my audience. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the number one best way, obviously, to find your fan base.
That's
go
so
tour,
cool.
Go out and let people see you play live. That's your diehard fans. That's the way they'll like really become your super fan, is seeing you play live. If you're good, if you're engaging and you really love being on stage.
Yeah, and you said part of your mantra is dare to suck, which I've heard from several songwriters as just a way to like get past the perfectionism of like, it has to be just right, it has to be a certain way, but just putting things out there raw and unpolished and let the song speak for itself.
Yeah, be prolific over perfect. I like to put it that way too.
Good.
I mean, the artist's main job is to be comfortable with being really uncomfortable, like all the time. If you're comfortable, then you're not doing something right. Like you're just kind of floating along.
Yeah,
and
like that vulnerability.
Yeah. And I tell myself that every day too. Like, Grace, you're getting a little too comfortable with just picking up a guitar and playing a song. You need to so I'll get new instruments, or I'll experiment with electronic music on Ableton or like Pushpad, or just anything like that to like get me really uncomfortable again.
Yeah, I know you've had a lot of influences, and you said you were the 6th generation in your family to live in Memphis and to be from Memphis. So how would you say like your influences have impacted who you've become as an artist?
I'd say it's definitely, I guess, my Memphis roots specifically. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Like, how do you think that has maybe shaped your style and how you view music?
I just like authentic music. I don't really have time for anything I just don't like listening to anything that's just too like Nashville'd up, to say the least. I mean, I'm not a fan of what the industry has become in Nashville. I lived there recently. I mean, we just moved back, and I know there are a lot of amazing, incredible songwriters over there. But I like that Memphis has given me like authenticity in my sound, and Delta, you know, my blues roots. I've grown to love everything about Mississippi, you know, musical heritage. That's like America's music, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's just given me a groundedness to my sound, so that I can always pull from other things like electronic music, but always I'll have that like rootedness in my Delta sound.
Yeah, it does sound very rooty, and you get kind of gritty sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's like depth and soul, and I love it. It's so
Thank
good.
you.
Just the style and your voice, you can just tell that you're singing from your heart. And I think that's a huge part of it, is to be able to deliver the emotion behind the song.
Yeah, totally.
So before we wrap up, what advice would you give to songwriters who are getting started, that have written some songs, maybe starting to dabble in recording, dabble in touring, like just getting their feet wet and trying to figure things out as an independent artist?
Yeah, I'd say before you even put pen to paper, before you get serious about anything, you have to get crystal clear on your why. You have to understand that, because on those days when you're like, I'm not in the mood to write a song, I'm not in the mood to go on stage and perform, you have to be able to tap into that part of you that's like, I'm doing this for that little girl who never felt, you know, whatever your why is. You have to go into yourself and like be able to tap into that, and you know, take half an hour in the morning and write it down and really think. And that doesn't take long. Like mine, I just did it in one morning, and I have it on my laptop, and I look back at it when I feel discouraged, and it gets me empowered again.
That's such great advice. I love it. And I want to let everyone know how they can connect with you, how they can see your songs that you're writing every day, and the backlog of all the songs previously as well. So what's the best way to find you online?
My website pretty much has all the links to everything. So graceaskew.com, just to make it super simple for everybody. And I have a Patreon page, like you said. So
awesome.
Great. And I'm on Spotify.
graceaskew.com, and then there's a link to the Patreon where you can donate $3 every month and get access to all the full songs that have been written, and support Grace in her endeavors and see the updates for what's next going into the new year. That's exciting. And I really appreciate you taking the time today to help encourage other songwriters in their craft and in their journey. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. You're a great interviewer. You're not even, it's not even like an interview. It feels like a conversation.
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
That's the best kind. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching today's interview. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you liked about this interview and what you'd like to see more of on the show. You can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts by searching for Rustic Songbird. You can also check out all of the previous episodes and interviews with songwriters and people in the music industry by going to rusticsongbird.com/podcast for the list of all the previous episodes. But make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening from so you don't miss a thing. Thanks again for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.